Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Oh my god, this is the second time I've had to record this breakdown. I was streaming it earlier, but for some reason I was streaming it in a 720p, which is something I didn't want to do. So I'm doing this again. This is the second take. But yes, Monodrama. This is the second project breakdown video that I've done. I did one last summer for Memories of a Forsaken Universe for Star Wars Creator Competition. But this is completely independent of that. This is simply because this trailer is crazy. It is a great trailer. So I figured I would try to rebuild the trailer music from the ground up and just make it 10 times bigger, to be honest. So that's what I did, and I'm going to show you how I did that. My name is Aona. I'm an orchestral composer and producer. I have been doing so for almost 9 years now. I teach occasionally upon request. If someone has a specific problem or question that they need answered, I will always do my best to help them with that. But hey, I guess we're going to start at the very beginning. Very nice. So there you have it. If you need to watch it with the video, I had that uploaded separately a few days ago. But let's begin. So the original, it starts off with this sweeping tonal sound. Then you have that gunshot into the beginning of the music. So what I've done is I've used a white noise riser, but I've automated the sample rate with Redux, the default device in Ableton. This is the mixing project. But what I did is I automated the sample rate here. I don't know if I automated the bit rate, but I automated sample rate, and then you get this weird crunchy effect towards the end here. Like that. So it sounds kind of like 8-bit, for lack of a better term. And these wind chimes here, and then they combine. Now that gun sound, that is from Keep Forest Devastator Warzone, so far as I'm aware. And it recharges. Yep. I've got a lot of like gun sounds. And then I've layered those here. That goes into these little clocks percussion, that's from Watchkeeper. All kinds of different like clock sounds. You get the idea. those clocks, they're providing the main rhythm for this introductory section. Now, in the original, they used they did use like a bass pulse, but they did a weird like frequency cutoff thing. I wasn't exactly able to emulate that perfectly, so it is what it is. But hey. That way at the pitch bend. I couldn't quite get that down, so instead I've just used a regular like bass and sub pulse sound. And how did I make those? They are in the original project, which I have right here for CPU power's sake. So I have a wide pulse here. That is going through Serum. It's just a bass pluck with soul waves and isolating the midband. I have a stereo widener, blues amp, EQ, get rid of that low end, overdrive to boost what's left in here, and multi-band compression just on the high end to give it that crisp sound. And then I have that layered with the main bass pulse that is in here. So that is just a sine wave, volume envelope going down, give it a bit of a plucky effect, and a pitch envelope giving it some transient, bit of punch to it. That's got an EQ, isolate the low end. Another EQ, this is from a regular sub that I'll use. So often I'll have like a white noise high end, give it a bit of grit, but I haven't used that here. For some reason I left the EQ in. Multi-band compression just on the lows, kind of bring it all together. It's not doing very much, to be honest. And saturator, let's just stop clipping it. Then I have a transient here from Nasco. I believe this is from his drum building rack plugin thing. So it's just a kick transient. Then I have that going through a kind of fake disperser. So normally what people will do is they will stack EQ3s where it has the three different frequency bands, and you have like a weird crossover and you get like a disperser-esque effect. But with this, I'm using phaser flanger. And then map the notches, center frequency, and the spread the same way you would with regular disperser. It's not as extreme an effect, but it's similar. Let's put it like that. You'd probably have to stack it a bunch of times for it to sound the same. And then that transient is just providing the main like clickiness of the sub, giving it a bit of like that transient information, that punch to it, the body. Elastic pitch isn't doing anything here. And then I have this here. This is the distortion unit for it. So the mono sound, that's just the bass. So they're going through a bass amp, isolate the lows, bass mono below 200 Hz. Then for the wide sound, that just appears during these things here. Because I tried to emulate the cutoff, but yeah, I couldn't quite get it. So this is the best I got. So what I've done here is I've applied temper to this main sound here. And then I'm like bringing up. Actually turn it off. There we go. That's better. You can tell what's going on there. So I've put temper, it's a free distortion unit so far as I'm aware. But then I've just applied that to this original sound on the wide chain. Put it on the amp, heavy, give it a bit more harmonic information. EQ, isolate the high end. Another EQ, get rid of some of the extra highs, roll them off. And then on the temper. And then they combine pretty well there. I have the strings following this same bass pulse. This is just a Marinker patch. And the tremolo follows the whistling, I'm pretty sure. Nope, never mind. That's following the bass line. Very nice, very cool. And then the whistles, that is, I believe it's from Edward Terralante. It's the same guy who did the that one accordion library that I use sometimes. As for the keys, what's going on there? This is, I believe that's either a music box or a wine glass mallet. Let's see. Yep, that is sound iron and bibophones. It's a very, very nice library of wine glass mallets and percussive wine glass instruments. I had to go through a drum bus for whatever reason. Then Sutu Delta Process. This is a play on something I did for Multiverse Vistas, which was Honkai Star Rail's music event last year over the summer. They ran a creative competition, and I did a piece for that, which I also broke down. There's a video for that on the channel. But essentially, what this is doing is it's using Sutu's dynamic resonance suppression in reverse. So where normally you'd get like a dip like that, this is dipping out all of the harsh resonances. If you turn on delta mode, you're just receiving all those harsh resonances. So where if you have like a tonal sound with a lot of harmonic information, you can actually clean it up by isolating those resonances. Like you will obviously need to EQ some of those peaks down, but it's for the most part incredibly clean. So what I did is I have the original chain here, it's just completely dry. And then I've layered it with this one, which is 1 octave higher, 12 semitones on delta mode. And then that's getting put through an EQ. Isolate the high end, some fake room reverb, EQ8, getting rid of some of the peaks. This is just default. There aren't actually any peaks here. It's just how I built this rack. But typically there are like some harsh resonances there, not in this case though. And then I'm boosting it by 6 dBs, and then they combine to get this. Very nice, very clean. What else do we have? Let's see. Right. So in the original song, do you hear that? Do 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 do. I wanted to get that pitch bend just right, but it didn't work. Right? So essentially what I've done here is I've tried to compensate for that like messed up pitch bend with the whistling. And if you're not paying attention to the messed up pitch bend, you won't hear it for the most part. But all this is, it's like it's not quite square waves, not quite saw waves, it's kind of an in-between point. Let's turn these off. Right? The harp dimension is turned off. Compression. And reverb. Yeah, see, that pitch bend is messed up. I couldn't get it. I could probably try to, but it's like incredibly finicky. Let's continue. Right, so drums, let's see. Yeah, this is normal Fox Stevenson kick, some hi-hats, some crashes, got a little trap snare in here. I believe that's from Wild Boys, but I pitched it up for this other key that I'm working on. Yeah, so it's doot, I made it doot, because that's the key I'm in. And then got some trailer hits. And then they just transition. The clock continues. Low end is the same. As for effects, it's fairly simple across the entire track, to be honest. We've got these sub booms. Yeah, no sub booms. So this is here. But I put it through the hollow room for some extra reverb, some more tail, some more length to it, and then I've just isolated the lows. So that's like a neat impact for transitions. Then we have some white noise risers from the beginning and a reverse white noise riser, but I've applied a phaser to it, give it a kind of like movement. So this is the original. And then I duplicated it, reversed it, giving it a phaser movement. Very nice. As for the vocals, these come in on every snare. It's just a little chant. Nice. Now, this is where the choirs start to come in, because this is supposed to be an epic version. It's going to be a big orchestral piece. So, these vocals, what are these? Yeah, this one's Freya. And that's just going through a random vocal processing thing. Some compression, some OTT, some EQ, and some reverb on this layer. Give it a bit of space. Then putting even more reverb through it through Valhalla Room, but it's only like 24% wet. Then we have the same thing here, but it's on Requiem Night Choir. I believe this was actually used in some of the Dark Souls series. I'm not sure. Someone will have to confirm that. I'm not like, that's not my area of knowledge, but like I've heard Requiem Light was heavily used in a lot of the earlier Dark Souls games. You get the idea. Then what else have we got? Into this transition here, there's a bit of strings. Yeah, so if I go do, 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 I didn't want to copy that, so I did kind of my own thing for that. So it's not the same, but it works. Yes. Now this is where things start to get a bit more interesting. This is where the sound design comes through. Yeah. Excuse my CPU, by the way. My computer's not having a happy time. So this is from another Keep For Us library. It is Cyberpunk, I believe. Yeah, Cyberpunk Trailer Toolkit. It's this section right here. Nice. But what I've done is I've used 4-octave delta. So I mentioned the delta process rec from before that I was using, and this is a later version of this that I developed on, where the earlier version is just 1 octave. This one is spread across 3 or 4. So we have our dry vocal here. Well, not vocal, but dry sound. Then we have another layer. This one is an octave higher. Right. Then that's getting put through an EQ, isolate the high end, some fake room reverb, and a utility is boosting the gain a little bit. Then you have another layer that's 2 octaves higher. You just duplicate that pitch module again. Same as before, delta, EQ, fake room reverb, and boost the gain. Then those will combine like this. It just gives it some neat tonal information, to put it lightly. And then this layer is completely dry, actually. That's interesting. Fairly self-explanatory. We have a third layer here. Right, so this one is here. That initial hit, right? So I've pitched it up 1 octave. This one's only slight. I think there's only a couple semitones over here. Yeah, it's 2 semitones going up with this initial hit, which is almost inaudible. Like, you can hear the pitches changing, but not by much. So that's why I've done delta process again. This is the dry. 1 octave higher. And then 2 octaves higher. Now see, where the dry one is like fairly low, the differences in pitch are audible, but they don't stick out. That's why when you do it with the other octaves, it's much more prominent. This is dry. And this is with the other 2 octaves. You can hear that's like doo doo doo. It's a rise essentially. And you got the same thing here. Dry. That one's much more prominent. So then what we've got over here, we've got these hybrid sweeps. They are from a hit. I've got rid of the hit and I'm just using the sweep. And what is this? This is from a old sound design session I did, I think back in 2019, 2020 maybe? I'm not sure. Yours, here we go. So what that is, it's essentially I made an old bass sound in Serum years and years ago. But what I did is I looped it constantly. But I was completely messing with the pitch and the fine tune and the octave, all of that. I was messing with it with absolutely no reason. And then I got a bunch of weird artifacts. So what this is, it was that, but then I put it on repitch mode, double timed it, and we get a really nice like growl sound that I'm using into the transition here. That's all that is in terms of sound design. Let's continue. So let's see, instrumentals wise, I'm pretty sure it's just the brass. Yeah, those are both from Orchestra Complete. It's a nice library. It's very simple, very what's the word? User-friendly, very easy to use. Now, as for percussion, there's not much going on. We've got the kicks, some snares rising in pitch, got some automating this the pan. All very self-explanatory stuff. As for the effects, again, it's the impacts, and then this time I'm using a saw alarm riser from AU5. And that's about it. Now this is where everything comes together. This is the main motif. This is Sparkle's bit. Nice. So now what's going on here? Nice. So I'm going to go on through this layer by layer. We have the Moraine curve from before that was following the bass line. That's doing the same thing the brass is doing. If my CPU would please catch up, that would be great. I don't think it wants to catch up. So if I grab the original song.
Wager. The life of a faker. Looks like someone's in my way.
So I'm actually going to grab just the music. So, obviously this recording isn't perfect. This is taken straight out of one of those crappy fucking AI vocal removal wow websites. But, like, I just needed to get a good grasp on what the strings were doing. Now, I haven't exactly copied what the strings are doing, to be honest. I've kind of put my own spin on it. But, hey. Alright, see, that's not exactly the same. But I just need to, like, where it's hard to hear over the voice lines, I just need to get that quickly, easily. Then these strings are following the vocal line. And everything combines like this. Yes. Now, as for choirs, this is where everything comes in. Let's take a look. The first layer, let's see. This one's meant less to be actual like vocal and more like an effect. Let's see. This is Freya, same as before. That one vocal rack for the reverb, compression, just clean up basically, basic vocal processing. After going through Valhalla Room, Virtual Rats 5-band OGT, cut off the high end, and that's going through 4 octave delta, the same as I described before. But I'm not using the second octave because that is way too high. Listen to this. No one wants to hear that. So I've only kept it on those 2 octaves. And then those are, see if I can grab it actually. Yeah, funny thing about this, I'm not sure if you can see, but like this layer comes in slightly earlier than the rest. It should be here, but I screwed that up and it came in too early. But where it is mostly a background effect, it's just providing like, it's almost going to be used as a pad for like harmony, like atmosphere building. It's not too much of an issue. But if this was any other of the choirs, that would be immediately noticeable and I would hate it so much. But choir men and choir women, they are both audio and periodic chorus. I've gone over this in a previous breakdown that I did, if you want to go look at that. But it is a extremely powerful, extremely easy to use choir library. It's very huge. You get the idea. I don't want to spend too much time in this section because obviously my CPU is not enjoying this. We have Requiem Light again, going through the same vocal processing rack. At this time I am using the delay. Then it's going through Valhalla Room and cutting off the highs again for the vocals. The whistle comes back too. And the opera singer, this is a bit of a finicky one. So simple opera singer is an interesting library. It works very well when you're doing like oohs and ahs, and the legato works fine as well. By like if you overlap the notes, it's gonna like slide, it's gonna transition fairly well. But with the words, it's extremely finicky, which is fine. It's not too much of an issue because this isn't the main vocal. If this was the main upfront vocal, it would not sound good. See, it sounds good in context. It doesn't sound good on its own. But like this, okay, this vocal, this library is very quiet as well. So I've obviously turned that up. I've compressed it with the multiband compressor, and I've just isolated the highs. There's no lows to get rid of, to be honest. But it's just general muscle memory cleanup. Keys. This is an interesting one. So these keys don't appear in the original song. I just edited it. Well, I didn't edit these in, but I just built these in myself. I just thought it sounded quite nice, like to have a little like sparkly, twinkly arpeggio thing. But yeah, this is a wine glass mallet, and this is just a regular piano. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, wine glass mallets. It's from Sound Art and in Bibophones. It's honestly one of my favorite libraries. It's very simple, very basic, but it's like it's very clean. I love the way that the resonance the wine glasses give off. It's when I don't want to use, say, a high pitched piano or a music box, or I don't know, even a marimba. Let's say I'll always use these wine glasses. They're amazing. But I have that going through a drum bus for whatever reason. I could not explain that to you. And then that's going through delta process just to give it an extra octave of harmony. Yeah, like that. And then the piano is, well, it's just the piano. I have that going through the compressor and a reverb. You get the idea. And as for the brass, that's providing the main bass line here. That is Evolution Atlantica by Keep Forest. It's a very nice trailer effects, trailer composition library. I said in the in a previous breakdown that I did for Memories of a Forsaken Universe that this is not ever something I would use as a main brass instrument for like melodies, whatever. But like to accompany a bass line, the low trailer brass is perfect. And then for these stabs, I have the trumpets and what is that? It's trumpets and low brass from Orchestra Complete. Very nice, very simple. Not much going on here. Unhappy CPU, as always. That's about it for instrumentals. As for the bass line, let's take a look. Or even let's just combine all these together. See how they sound independent. Yeah, very nice, very cool. Then we have this here, right here. There we go. And that is an 808 from Tugendgut. Same with, yep, frequency envelope, volume automation. It's an 808. How much can I describe about it? And then have that going through elastic pitch to just, you know, transition it into the next section. Fairly self-explanatory there. And what else have we got? We have here. Yeah, drums. Again, this is mostly the same stuff. Obviously, you got your clocks, you got your trailer hits, and bring in the orchestra crashes and some cymbals here. And again, it's just the regular trap snares. Effects, it's the same. Impacts, we have a couple of extra risers here this time. And then we go into my favorite section, or well, most people's favorite section of the trailer.
So what? Let me tell you what foolishness is. Pretending to be smart like you do. That's...
Yeah. Now, the way I did this is, it's ever so slightly different And when I copied over the original project, it did rewarp a bunch of the samples, so it's gonna be a bit weird to describe. But hey, I'm actually just gonna play it through. Why not? Now let's see. As for drums, it's pretty simplistic, to be honest. It's just a regular like 1-3 kick clap pattern. Yeah, that's not too complicated. As for a sub, we have these downwards, like what's it called? Downwards pitch sounds. Right. As for this sub, it's literally just operator on a sine wave, high pitch envelope, and then I'm just automating the pitch down. And as for this sub, this one's a bit more complicated. It's 2 layers. So it's same as before. Regular sub, sine wave, got a bit of a pitch envelope on it. EQ, isolating the low end. Another EQ. This is for what I usually do with this rack, which is where I'd have white and dirty. This adds a bit of erosion, a bit of white noise to the top end. I would cut this out, and then I have the sub here and the high end here, and it's got like a bit of a dip for the rest of the mids, and everything else opens up some space. This multiband compression is not doing anything at all, to be completely honest. EQ, that would be for boosting the high end that I provide with white and dirty on the erosion. And saturator, that's just soft clipping it. And then as for a transient, that is from Nasco. I believe it's from a drum building pack they did. And that's being put through a different kind of fake disperser. So I described in my Memories Are a Forsaken Universe video that usually what people would do is they will use the 3-band EQ that Ableton comes with, EQ3, and then they'll stack it and map the frequency bands to different macros, and you basically have the same thing as disperser from kilohertz. But this way of doing it is it's slightly different, but it's kind of the same thing. Instead of using phasor flanger, so I can automate the notches, center frequency, and spread the same way you can in regular disperser. But it's to a lesser degree. This is what it sounds like normally. And then this just gives it that kind of disperser-esque effect. But to a much lesser, like, it's not as strong as a regular disperser, for sure. And that's just giving the sub a transient. Now, what else is there? I've described the drums, I've described the sub. As for brass, it is literally just stabs. Pretty simple. Where it resolves on that note is keeping that resolution going, essentially. Now as for the sound design, let's take a look. This is a Tiller sound. Rails here. You hear that? It's right here. And I've just pitched it up so it matches the key I'm working. And you got the little other chops here. Then we have this sound here from assembly line. It's just a big neuro bass, and then I cut off the low end, and I just layered that with the Tiller one. Nice. And then that's also the sound that's transitioning into the other trap section. You get the idea. I'm not sure why it's warped weird when I moved the project over into this one. But hey, the main impact is these 3 plucks right here. We've got this one, and this one. Let's take a look at this first layer. There's no post-processing on this, but it is some sound wave on the sub oscillator and 2 saw waves going through a low pass filter with a bunch of effects on it. So let's take those off. Pretty simple. So I'm comparing that through hyperdimension, give it some width. Chorus, that's not doing anything. EQ, isolating the midband, getting rid of some extreme highs and the lows. Distortion, downsample it a bit, give it a kind of 8-bit effect. Compressor, multiband, not multiband. That's just boosting the gain, pushing it all together, gluing it all together. Some delay. And some reverb. And we have this layer here. This one's a bit more complicated. Let's see, it's a synced up saw wave. Give it a listen. Yeah. So it's just a synced up saw wave. Envelope 1's automated the filter cutoff. That's about it. Effects wise, distortion. Dimension to give it some width. Some chorus. That gives it a bit of like a not phasery. I can hear it, you probably can't hear it. Well, if you can hear it, you can. But like it's very subtle, let's put it like that. Some multiband compression and some EQ. And then some reverb again. Then we have that going through the post-processing. This is the Eli Dopouts Fat Rack. That's just kind of giving it a bit more like a lot more meat to it. Basophagia, that's like centering it more. The same old fake disperser that I used. Temper, this is a free distortion unit. And then I'm isolating the midband, getting rid of some highs. Then we have a third layer, which has the same post-processing, but it's a different patch that I made years and years and years ago. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is one of the spectral wavetables. It may be in one of the digital ones that comes with Serum by default. And then that's being put through 2 envelopes on the level of the noise oscillator, which I'm not using. Wavetable position. And then that's also automating the filter cutoff. Well, envelope 2 is automating the filter cutoff. They're almost the same though, one is slightly longer. That's going through distortion. Hyperdimension again for the width. Chorus. Phaser, compressor, reverb. And EQ. And then that's just boosting the high end on each MIDI note. That's going through the Fat Rack again, beefing it all together. Basophagia, center of the sound. Disperser. Temper again, and that same EQ. And then those sounds all combine, and they sound like garbage. That is until you combine them with the sub. See? That glues everything together, that bass. Then what we got going on in the background? We have some sounds from Noctane, some sounds from Agony, some sounds from Q97. Very nice. And then I don't need to go into too much detail on the extra little snippets. These brown ones here, I had a big in-depth talk about them with the previous breakdown video I did, if you want to go check that out. But these are all just random snippets from old bass jams, and then I'll stretch the whole sound out on the entire project and isolate a single section, and then scrub through the sound until I get little like ear candy basically. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I used this exact sound in Memories of a Forsaken Universe. Actually, I recognize that click. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. That's pretty neat. And then effects, it's absolutely empty besides this riser towards the end. And that's this section. Now this break sound, that is having the cymbals come back in. There's a little there's a trailer effect, there's a trailer hit here. That's breaking to match with the trailer. Then we have these trap snares coming through. I think there's a downer as well right here. Yep, we have the synths and basses, that is the two snippets that I use here. And then there's the one from the harmony bass loop. Now what else? We've got that sub boom, and that's it for the break here. Now, for this section, again, I'm going to start with the drums. You see? So it's the same as before. I have a bit of a different beat, and I'm bringing this extra percussion here, these two layers, just some added rhythm. Pretty neat. As for instrumentals, it's the same choir as before from here. Yep. As for strings, nice. I've also got these tubular bells. And the trailer brass. As for the low end, that is the same 808 from To Commision. Yeah. Now there's also, it goes from this regular beat to this goes from the 808 to a kind of to the Reese, which is what I'm doing here. 808 Reese.
Act clueless. Like I do.
So when she starts laughing, there's a different bass sound, and that's what this is. So obviously there's this break, there's this transition into the weird acid trip sidetrance section. Let's take a look at those sounds. 808 is still the same. But as for the Reese, there's a lot more going on here. So let's take a look. It is 2 layers. I'm just going to turn off these effect tracks for simplicity's sake. It's a regular Reese, high unison on oscillator 1, low pass filter on the highs. So what I've done, instead of doing a pitch bend, I've just done on every initial transient for each new note, I've just put like a short snippet where it's an octave higher. And then I've used the portamento, so it's doing that glad on its own. So I don't need to control my own pitch envelope. There's nothing going on with automation wise or in the matrix. And then that gets put through into 2 chains. We have one that's wide, temper on the wide. That's getting put through a heavy amp on dual mode. Cut off the low end because I want all the low end to be mono. Another EQ isolating this section. I believe I'm automating the position of oscillator 1 to give it that vowliness. I might just put it for a second temper. Then we have the mono layer, which gets put through another amp. This one's on bass mode. It's still on dual, but it's like, it doesn't really matter because I'm modeling it later on. Isolating the low end at 200, the opposite of what I did for the wide, and then everything below 200 is mono. Then they combine, you get this. And dip in some of the mid band, some of the extra highs, just for some control. Glue it all together with a multi-band compressor. Elastic pitch, that's used for the transition between this section and the sidetrans section, where it kind of gets washed out and this auto pan, chopping everything up. Picking itself up there. Then we have an EQA, and that's just cutting off frequency towards that transition. Pretty neat. Good stuff. Now what else do we have? We have for the strings, this is worth pointing out. Yeah. Now if I go back to the original, that isn't what's playing.
Do you get it now? What is elation?
But when it comes to like these complicated arps and what's it called, like staccato patterns, I'm not classically trained, I'm not professionally trained. Everything I've ever done is me self-taught. So I just decided not to do that, and I made like a quick successive arpeggio thing into this transition here, which works just as well. I find it's not a problem at all. Effects wise, it's the same. Downwards riser, riser there, white noise riser, and then that all combines in here. Now, as for the transition, I have a auto pan on the master that is giving it that movement, that choppiness towards the transition. And I'm also using glitch 2 just before to give it a short pause, bit of surprise. See that bit there? Obviously this isn't what it sounds like. That glitch isn't what it sounds like in the original. I'm pretty sure I changed some kind of setting here. That's my bad. But that sent me to break the tension. Catch listeners by surprise kind of thing. They did it in the original as well, to be honest. Funny thing, by the way, worth pointing out. It could just be me programming this wrong. Whose idea was it to make this trailer music in 92.5 BPM and then do an exponential fade to 155? Like, it works. I love the song, but it's a bit unconventional, you know? Anywho, let's continue. Now, the saturation section is actually very, very simple. Let's see what we have in the drums. Pretty regular stuff, to be honest. As for the lows, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I'm going to go to the original for this. this is the same sub that I described from before in the first drop section. Just a regular sub bass and a modulating the pitch down. Then we have the same sub that we used for that section again, but it's on a different pattern. And that's paired with this sequence sound right here. Now what's going on with this? We have two soul waves going through a low pass filter, automated by a frequency envelope, or volume envelope even. That's going through a tube distortion filter and a compressor. This is what it sounds like dry. This is the tube distortion. Sample hold filter. And multiband compression. Then we're gluing all of that together with a multiband compressor and getting rid of the low end with the EQ. The bends again, that's also the portamento, otherwise it would just be stabby like this. Which is fine, but like where this is also quite a heavily detuned sound, it wouldn't really work. So that's why I bent it together. And then we have this sequence transgate. Just giving it rhythm, essentially. That goes through tube distortion, reverb, delay, and compressor. That's bringing all of those really loud, annoying bits down, and it's bringing the quieter bits up. It's balancing the sound. Then that gets put through the fake disperser again. Gives it that wetness to it. And then it'll combine like this. And then as for instrumentals, we have the strings here, following that tonal pattern from the original. Let me grab that real quick. That is here. That downwards movement. I'm having that followed by the strings and some ambience afterwards. And that's also being followed by a Requiem Light, I'm pretty sure. Nope, it's another Freya. That weird one from before. This is what I mean when I said that this layer wasn't supposed to be used as like a main choir. It's more as like a background atmospheric pad thing that also happens to be from a choir library. Then we have that being followed with these plucks here. And these others. Then effects, again, it's the same. Sub booms, rises, falls. Nothing too interesting going on there. Ambience, this is where most of the tonal quality comes from. So what I'm doing here is this is literally one of the default patches from Serum. It's a weird, I don't even know what you call this wave. It's a rounded saw with like a strange transient thing on that. I'm not sure. Up to the unison, dip some of the mids and the EQ. Got that going through Valhalla Room. Get rid of the low end. Delta process to give you that extra up to above. And the Kumata to glue them together. Then we also have this layer right here, which is the same, but it's an octave higher. And we have this one right here, it's just a transgate. hyperdimension for the width, which isn't doing anything. Has some delay, some reverb, and some EQ that's boosting some of the high end. Gives it a sort of dreamy, ethereal feel to it. EQ, get rid of the lows, Q Metallic, glue all the layers together, and another EQ to just clean up, basically. And then these all combine. It's worth noting as well, where I could have just sidechained these to the kick, so I have like a, the kick still I have to come through, I wanted to have a kind of pumping effect the same way that you would normally have in Sidetrend, so that's why I've added this, that's why there's this fade on the volume envelope. Just so that's easier to manage, basically. And that's it for the Sidetrend section. It is fairly minimal in the original, so I didn't want to go too overboard, but I did go a bit, I beefed up the tonal qualities a bit. Now the ending to the song is very minimal, I will admit. It's quite dry. You have the main vocal, and then you have this sort of wave, this wavy fucking synth sound in the background accompanying that vocal. But I wanted to add to that. So what I've done is I've used the choirs from before, and I've had them following the main vocal line. Let me grab them. So they follow the sparkle vocal. Then I have the trailer brass underneath, that's following the bass line. Here. Pretty neat. Then as for the actual synth sound itself, it is pretty much just still wave arpeggio, the same way you do it in like normal wave music. Let me grab it. Here it is. So what this is, it's from Leviathan 3. They've got a kind of rounded saw wave phaser filter that's going put through. This is what it sounds like dry. See, you could probably just use this dry if you put enough reverb on it, but as Harper mentioned, give it a bit of space, bit of chorus, bit of delay, some reverb, some chorus, compressor, and your filter. That's going to put through an EQ, get rid of the low end, because that's kind of like muddy under there. Temper. And then going through another reverb. I also have the strings following that. Then there's also the trap snares. Same as they've appeared a lot in this song. They're just rising in pitch. Trailer hits. And then there's that callback to the beginning with the gunshot. And that all combines in a fairly cohesive fashion, I find. Nice. Now to finish off, we just have this soft piano. that's being accompanied by the return of the whistle. And that is also further accompanied by these strings just supporting on top. The song also finishes with this reversing glass. Now, I do typically find myself using glass breaking a lot. Let's shatter, let's see here. Not that. That's a good example. Gonna warp this. You know, on an impact, I can see this being fairly good, to be honest. But if I repitch it, and then I reverse it, you could use this as, say, like some dark wind chimes if you needed to. Or even if you isolated one of these peaks and stacked a ton of reverb on that could be a really nice pad if you want it to be. Because that's already almost got a chord in it, and it's just glass shattering. So like reversing glass or using glass as an impact, it has very nice tonal qualities. I will use it a lot. But that's about it, to be honest, in terms of this entire project. I mean, I feel like I've covered more than enough. If there's anything in particular people want to ask, they can always join the Discord. It's in the description, or you know, leave a comment if you'd like. But that's about it. Apologies if it's kind of hard to keep up with. This is only my second breakdown stream. Well, it was my second breakdown stream. It's technically my third now because I recorded it in 720p like an idiot. But hey, we ball. We ball. I'm honestly very proud of this project. Because hearing this initial trailer, it seems a lot more complicated than it is. It's not that complicated at all. It's like I rebuilt it in, let's say, maybe 8.5 hours, I think. But even the sound design, that is my thing. I love doing sound design. So that was incredibly easy for me. I don't know. I don't want to brag, but like I'm incredibly proud of this cover. Like incredibly proud. There were a few mess ups. Like there was this piano bit that I left muted when I was doing the mixing, and it would have kept so much impact in that initial ending, but I turned it off by accident, and it, you know, I goofed, but like, you know, it's not a problem. I can still sit here and say I'm proud of this, and that's more than enough at the end of the day. So if you have any other thoughts, you know, leave a comment, subscribe if you want. I'm not gonna force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. If you like the song, just listen to it. I do appreciate any kind of support I can get, but hopefully I can put out some more music soon. And I will see you soon.